So this is going to be my introduction to my follow-up video. I've been going back and forth trying to figure out if I was going to post this video. I know my videos on my channel are true crime, but this is not going to be true crime related, but it is very important. Recently, I found somebody by the name of Lisa Richards on TikTok, and she's in active addiction. And watching her daily and being someone who has been there in her mind state in addiction, I just couldn't sit around and not say something, not help in some type of way. This is by no means me sticking up for her. I think that her actions and her behavior is unacceptable and just outright disgusting. I don't want anybody to send any hate or harass her or people that do follow her. What we can do is bring awareness and tell our stories. Because one thing an addict can't do is fool another addict. And she's not very good at it. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy this, and I really hope it reaches the right people, whether you're in addiction or you're enabling it. I wanted to tell my story, my thoughts and opinions, in hopes to help people understand, maybe educate some people. I'm Raquel, and I am an addict. And like many stories, my story starts out with Vicodins and oxycodone. I found a doctor who would prescribe it fairly easy. Me and my partner at the time ended up sending multiple people to this doctor. So they would bring their scripts to us and we would end up selling them. And that's how we made our money every month. By 23, I was a full-blown IV heroin user. And it wasn't until 2011 that I went to rehab that I really felt the full effects of withdrawals. And I had an amazing time in rehab. It was great. I met amazing people. They were very supportive, very loving, very caring. And it wasn't until then that I found out that I was what they call a functioning addict. I lived a normal life. I worked, was a mom, took care of the house. I did all the things. And when I had left there, I was sober for about 3 months, I want to say. And I thought I was cured. I was so new to sobriety, so new to using, period, that I thought I was cured, I was good, and I returned into the same situation that I had left. And it took days for me to relapse. And after rehab is when it really got bad, and everything started going downhill fairly quickly. And I got to a point where I was supporting my habit and my partner's habit at the time. I was just doing everything by myself, and it got exhausting, and I built up the courage to finally leave. The hardest thing about that situation was leaving my daughter. She is not biologically mine, and she was 2 when we got together, and that was the hardest thing at the time that I had to do. I went from being a mom to now being myself, and I wasn't sure how to do that, and it was tough. It was really tough. I ended up throwing myself into my addiction even harder because I just felt like it's just me now. I ended up finding somebody who was an amazing man, and probably felt sorry for me. And I ended up going to the methadone clinic and learning about methadone, and what it does is obviously helps with your withdrawals, but it helps rewire your brain to live a normal life. A lot of people are in the streets and living this fast life that it kind of rewires it to be normal again. And you get up to a certain type of milligram to feel good, no withdrawals, and then you keep going until your cravings go away. And the cravings are just like any other cravings when you crave like cake or ice cream or anything like that, except for you crave it, you have dreams about it, they come and go. It can be long, can be short. You just kind of keep yourself busy. So after that, I lived a very normal life. It worked great. I did the program exactly how it was supposed to. I got a bunch of take homes, and it was great. And then I ended up using. When I did use, I didn't feel it. So I tried to use more, and I wasn't feeling it. So I just thought, well, that's a waste, so I'm going to stop. Years later, I ended up dosing down, and it was going very good until I got to very low dose. I want to say like 10, 12 milligrams, and I started to, I felt fine, but my head was, the only way I can describe it is like a million different radios, a million different TVs going off in my head. It was almost like my head was manic and I didn't know what to do or how to handle it. And instead of telling the nurses and the doctors I need to stabilize at this dose, in my addict brain, I thought, well, I'm just going to use, because that cures everything, right? So I ended up using. I relapsed. And it was a while. Of course, things got horrible in my relationship, financially, everything just went downhill. And I used for a long period of time after that. We ended up moving, and after we moved is when I went back to the methadone clinic and kind of got back on track. And once I did that, everything was good again. I got a new job, I was working, it was great, and I ended up losing my truck. I had take-homes, like I said, and I would save take-homes because I could go a whole day without taking methadone and be fine. So I would save those take-homes in case of emergency. So I had a bunch kind of like built up, and every Sunday it's closed. So I kind of saved those as well. And so once I lost my truck, I kind of like leaned on those for a while. I would catch an Uber there. I walked there a couple times. It was snowing. I walked in a blizzard. Like, I was trying, but when you have a dope dealer who delivers to your house, addict brain again, that's so much easier. So after I ran through all of my take homes, I just ended up relapsing. This time was different. Everything went down so quickly in a blink of an eye. It was not a slow takedown like it has been in the past. It was so quick. And I even felt that, like, I was so down on myself and just so in my feelings that I was just like, what am I doing? So I ended up finding somebody who had methadone, and I got back, because I was kind of going back and forth from methadone to dope, but I ended up finding some methadone to kind of stabilize myself until I could go to rehab. And that's what I ended up doing. I went to detox only. I didn't do the residential this time. I went to detox, and it was miserable, obviously. When you detox methadone out of your system on top of the opiates, you detox it out of your body, but it's still in your bones. So your bones are basically detoxing. So it's seeping out of your bones. For a whole about 22 days, I still had all of the symptoms. I felt fine, had no withdrawals. I was over the hard part, but it was literally seeping out of my I was so weak, I couldn't even walk up about 8 flights of stairs without getting winded. I had to stay with my parents to help them take care of my son. I still had runny nose, hot cold flashes, sneezing, yawning, my bones ached. All of that for at least 20 days. It wasn't even until the 24th, 25th day that I was starting to kind of get up and do things, and I lost so much weight. I was so skinny. I could see all the bone structures in my face. It was, I just felt, I was so fragile and weak. It was horrible. It's been 2 months and about 15 days since I went to the detox, off of absolutely everything. And it was literally the best decision I have ever made. And this is what makes me upset. Is when I got out of detox, I had found Lisa Richards, and obviously she's a mess, and that's one of the reasons why you kind of get attracted to those type, like Lolzcows. You attract to it. It's a mess. It's you know, entertainment, I guess. But this is a different type of entertainment, and it is absolutely frustrating watching her just be a horrible person. Just a horrible person. Lying about her son having cancer and her dad dying. Horrible. But this is going to be easier for me to say than for you to understand. Lisa now is not the Lisa her family or her friends knew while she was growing up. Even if she gets completely clean off of everything, she won't be that person ever again. She'll be a better version of her, but she'll never be that person again. The things that she is doing in her addiction is nothing she would do when she's sober. You're not the same person. You don't think the same. And I see these people send her money, and when it's so clearly obvious what is going on, you're sending her money. I don't think you understand that sending her money is literally killing her. You're not just hurting her, you're hurting her whole family. You are hurting her kids. I get it. You feel bad. You feel like, I need to help this person. But what is going to help her is take away all of her resources. Everything. She needs to lose everything. And I know that sounds harsh, but addiction is way more harsh. And her sister literally went on here and told you that she is using. She is in active addiction. Please do not send her money. I don't know if it's denial, naive, or just plain dumb. But when you have family members coming on here and telling you what she's using it for, it does nothing for them. They benefit nothing. I mean, why would they do that? They're not going to lie. They don't benefit from that. If she came on here and she was like, I need money for drugs because I'm sick or I'm going to be sick, would you send her money? Because her sister came on here and said what she was using it for. So I don't understand the disconnect there. I don't understand it. I hear a lot of people always say she needs to hit rock bottom. She needs to hit rock bottom. No, she's at rock bottom. She's been there several times. What addicts do is they get to rock bottom and they build a home there with a bubble over it and make themselves comfortable. Rock bottom is a very familiar place to every addict. You have to beat her down to the basement underneath the crawl space for her to get where she needs to be, for her to realize she needs to get sober. And you can, all these people, all these trolls in the comment section telling her, you know, go get help, go to rehab. I get it. But the meanness, the being cruel part, you're no better than Lisa when you're doing that, when you're being mean and saying mean things. I'm not talking about the facts, the truth. That's different. You put that in the chat, that it's the truth, it's facts. But the go OD or putting OD in the chat, you are disgusting. I can't even fathom why you would think that that's okay. Why? Because you look at her and think, oh, she's just another junkie. Why don't you think of her as your mother or your sister or your anybody you care about? Put that person in her shoes. You are basically telling her, not even basically, you are telling her to go off herself. You're telling her to go unalive herself. That's what you're doing. You should be ashamed of yourself. And that doesn't work. All this that she's doing, jumping online all this time, she's not gonna get tired of it. I heard somebody say, I told her I was gonna send her money and then I didn't because I figured if I do it enough, she'll get tired of it. She's not. She's not gonna get tired of it ever until it's all taken away. She's going to keep doing this. And everybody being mean and saying hateful things, stop. That's not going to work. She is numb. She is completely numb. All those drugs are on top of those feelings right now. That ain't gonna faze her. She does it because it works. She's obviously getting money. She is in a losing battle right now. And every time you send her $1, $5, whatever, she's winning those little battles. But she's completely losing the war. And this is a war, just like any war, she can lose her life. This is a war with the devil himself. You can't understand. I can say it over and over again ad nauseum and try to explain it to you how she is her worst enemy. Nobody gets down on herself more than she does. And just because you don't see it, it's all up here, and it is horrifying. It is miserable. It's the worst state you could possibly be in. It's horrifying. I don't wish this on anybody. Nobody, because it's that bad. And all you're doing when you're sending her money is prolonging her addiction. You're just making it go on and on and on. And that is a tough place to be in. Take your worst day and times it by 1,000. That's how bad it is, and even worse. And it breaks my heart seeing someone like that. It's so sad. Now, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I don't know this as facts. I don't know Lisa, and I do not know her family. But in my opinion, I don't think she was going to the methadone clinic for a little while. And I say this because her stories don't make sense. She said that she was going to the clinic and was dosing down. And she was switching clinics. That's what she said. She said she was switching clinics. And she was dosing down at her one clinic. The only way a clinic will dose you down is when they're kicking you out. It is very hard to get kicked out of the methadone clinic. Really, the only way is if you're continuing to use or if you're being so disruptive every single day. But what ends up happening is they drop you once a month. Once a month, that's a lie. They drop you once a week. And if you continue to drop dirty every week, they warn you. They give you a warning. The second you go a couple more weeks, then they say, listen, what's going on? What's the problem? Do we need to up your dose? And they try to figure it out with you. After that, they give you paperwork to sign and everything and say, you got to go. We're dosing you out. Lisa is at 120 milligrams of methadone. If she was being dosed down in 7-day rapid detox, she would be sick. First day, she'd probably be all right. Second day, she'd be feeling a little crappy. By the third day, she would be sick. And she has to continue that 7 days to be discharged to go to another clinic. You can't go do an intake while you're still in another clinic. It's illegal. By law, you can't do that because it looks like you're trying to double dose, at 2 different clinics. So intake, yes, does take 4 to 5 hours, but after the intake, you get to dose, and they don't start you off at the dose you were at. My clinic does 35 milligrams to start you off at. Some do 45, some do, I think, 70 or 75. Everywhere is different, but it's not 120. So even if she got out of her clinic and went to the next clinic, she would be so sick. So it just didn't make sense to me. And maybe she just went back to the methadone clinic. And we'll be able to tell if she's really working the program like she's supposed to. Her attitude will change. The way she even talks will change. A lot of addicts talk very slow like this, and that will change. Her eyes, the bags underneath her eyes, the way she talks, everything, even just more energy. You'll notice a change. She won't be on as much as she is. And that's when you can notice that she's working the program. Should you send her money then? No. Even if she's working this program like she's supposed to, she needs to get a job and help herself. It is very important in sobriety that you be a contributing member to society. You help yourself, get yourself together. It's very important. Have a purpose. you helping her. If you want to help, send her deliveries, send her DoorDash, put credit on her account. But she needs to do this herself, for herself. And let me just say this one more thing. People keep talking about her kids. Stop. Just stop it. Did she pick drugs over her kids? Yes. Yes, she did. She picked her family over. She picked drugs over her family, her kids. She's picking drugs over herself, because that's what you do when you're an addict. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't even make sense to addicts. You just do it. Does that mean she doesn't love her kids? No. She loves her kids. She loves her family. She can't help it. She just can't. It's hard. Being an addict is easy because you just do whatever you want, let everything go. Getting sober is the hard part. That's the hardest thing. Because then you get sober, all of your problems are still there. And you just made 1,000 more problems when you were using. And it's very hard to deal with. And that's why a lot of addicts relapse, because you don't know how to deal with your emotions. When I came home, just like a lot of other addicts, I started using just to kind of numb myself. And when I came home, all of those feelings came back up. And it was overwhelming. I would watch a commercial of a dog and just start bawling my eyes out. I couldn't even control my emotions. It was hard. And working through those are hard. But you have the best outcome. I wish I could have gotten sober way sooner. Way sooner. I wasted so much time. Even though I was a functioning addict, I was doing the bare minimum. I was a bare minimum daughter, bare minimum sister, bare minimum parent. I did what I had to do. Nothing extra, nothing more. And I wasted so much time. If I had everything ripped from me, all those times I relapsed sooner, maybe I would have gotten sober sooner. Maybe I wouldn't have. But I wish I did. Because obviously none of us are getting any younger. So that's what I wanted to say. I just really, really, really pray that for the people who find people like Lisa, do your research. Please educate yourself on addiction. They have Al-Anon meetings. Do your research on that person. Thank you for listening.